All right, welcome everybody to the Messengers podcast. I am Chris Searles. With me today is Rob Seifert, the creative director at Searles Graphics. Today we are discussing a topic really primarily that deals with how small businesses compete with big box retail, with larger competitors. We have a article on our blog that I had written a while back. The title of that article was "If Walmart Can Put You Out of Business, You're in the Wrong Business." And the idea really being that we see a lot of people that themselves try to compete head on with businesses like Walmart and some of those larger competitors. The classic example I like to give is, this was now a while ago, but back a few years ago, I was on the board of a local chamber of commerce around here, and there was a Walmart that wanted to come into town, and I was astounded at the level of fight that came out of not only the local businesses and the Main Street businesses in the town, but that the Chamber of Commerce itself got involved in that fight and really battled to stop Walmart from coming to town, and they actually were successful. They were able to stop it, and to this day there still isn't a Walmart right there. But the one of the primary examples from that I talk about is, at the time there was a stationery store. Locals even called it the Five and Dime that had been there on Main Street for, I don't even know how long, decades and decades.
Sure.
And they were one of the primary opponents, and they were one of the main kind of examples of the Main Street businesses that were going to go out of business if Walmart came to town. And here we are, a few years later, and that store's gone anyway. They went out of business either way, because at some point you can't out Walmart, and whether that's Walmart or Amazon or,
right.
Just because somebody has to drive a few extra miles to get to a different Walmart or a Target or whatever.
Staples,
yeah, you can't get away from it, and trying to compete based on the fact that, we're going to sell the same products, we're going to carry the exact same products as Walmart and offer the same exact thing that you can get there, only there you can buy it at half the price that you're going to get it from us,
right.
Just commodities and staples. And, you can get a Hallmark card from anywhere. You can go to CVS, you don't need to go to a local Main Street stationery store that's going to charge you 30% more.
Yeah, well, it's kind of sad, I think, but you can't help change, and it's it's pretty evident that a lot of business models are going to suffer with this because of what's going on. It's happened and it's happening. So,
yeah, you can look at it as sad, but I think that is part of the problem, right? Is it's almost this nostalgia for things of the past
Sure.
that keep people operating in that mindset, and the idea isn't that business could not have continued and stayed in business. It's just that they had to change. And just
Right.
like any business, any industry changes over time. If you don't change with it, then you're gone. And I always like to refer back to, I love the book Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And for anybody that's read it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't read it, the premise is your business doesn't exist because of a product that you sell or a service that you offer. Your business exists for a reason, and narrowing down why your business exists and who your business exists to serve should be your primary focus. And as long as you have that, and that remains your core value, what you do and then how you do that is a function of then the product that you offer that changes. Your what and your how changes all the time, and it has to change all the time because progress, you can't fight progress. It's
Sure.
going to happen no matter what. But why you do that is what needs to remain the same. And for us, it's the same thing. I mean, we started as a commercial printing company in 1974. And if we defined ourselves as a commercial printer like a lot of our competitors in that industry did, we might not be around today. I mean, there's not as much printing out there as there used to be. And we've seen a lot of our competitors go out of business because they defined themselves as printing companies. That was what they are. That's who they were. That's what they did. There was nothing more to their business than the fact that, well, we put ink on paper and that's it. And once people don't need that anymore, they don't need us anymore.
Sure.
And we've never been that. We've always been more than that. We've always been about, well, how can we solve that customer's problem in the best way, whether that's, in the past it was generally print, but we also, got into design early on and started, doing a lot of graphic design and ad design and things like that.
Right.
And then these days it's digital. It's how can we service you both from a traditional media and a print standpoint, and then what can we do digitally to help get your message out and to help you achieve your goals and market your business effectively.
Right.
And if we didn't change, we would be in that same boat where, you could look at that as, well, it's sad they were around for a long time and that business isn't here anymore, but that business wouldn't be here anymore because we failed to do our job and to remain relevant.
Right. I mean, I get a lot of people that come in off the street and they're coming from Staples, and they said they went down to Staples and the people behind the counter couldn't work with their files or said they wouldn't work for what they were doing. And, just having the support staff and graphic design team here, we're able to, hey, we'll take a quick look at it. When they walk in, we pop it in the computer and we say we can work with it and print it. And then the ensuing problem is that they want it for the same price.
Of course they do.
But that's where the explanation comes in, that we're not Staples, and that if they offered the level of customer service that we did and the graphic support that we did, that their prices would be more too.
Right. Yeah, if they could solve your problem, they would have to charge you more.
Right. Precisely.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's, when we deal with competition even just on the print side. I mean, there's plenty of large internet competition for printed materials, and if we defined ourselves as well, we'll do business cards, and print your business cards for you, and that's the business that we want because it's going to keep our presses running.
Right.
To compete with what you can get 500 generic business cards for online, we probably can't even turn a press on for what you can pay to do it somewhere else from somebody that's just doing massive volumes, and just pumping business cards out all day long. And that's not who we are. Where we used to do more business cards in the past because there really wasn't an alternative. There wasn't an option to spend that much less. Now that option exists, it's not really a part of our business, and we're not suffering because we've lost that business. And we still do business cards for clients who value what we bring to the table in terms of that service in particular. But we're not, when somebody calls here and they say, hey, I need 1,000 business cards, what's it going to cost me? Our response, generally speaking, is, well, this is what we would bring to the table if you want to work with us.
Right.
If you value that, then great, we'll work with you on it. If not, go online. You're going to get them a lot cheaper. It's going to be a better, for what you need and what you want, what you're going to value. That is a much better option for you. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah, no, we recognized that a long time ago, and it's been a general disclaimer and explanation I use all the time when clients come in looking for business cards, and right away I kind of just let them know that if they're comparing our prices to prices that they see on Vistaprint, they're not going to be comparable. They're going to get a different product, and it's really not what we do. Like you said, though, we do business cards. We do a lot of them, and they're custom. We'll sit down and show them different stocks, and we'll sit down and talk about different variables with the printing, with the inks, and discuss PMS color inks. It's not like, again, part of the explanation I give to them is the gang run mentality of a company like Vistaprint, where they're running massive sheets of paper all the time, 24 hours a day, and your job is, run on that giant sheet of paper, and that's why they can give the prices they give, and we can't compete at that level as a local, printer.
Yeah, and again, it's about then defining why we exist and our business.
Mm-hmm.
I always say, if you compete on price and price alone, you're in a race to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you're going to lower your price, and then the other person that's competing on price is going to lower their price, and then you have to lower yours again, and then they have to lower theirs again,
Mm-hmm.
until nobody's making any money, and you're both going to go out of business. And then what do you do from there?
Right.
And especially if that's one thing if you're competing with another business that is, in the same boat as you are, or the same size in the same market and whatever. But when your competition is Walmart or Amazon, or they're always going, you can't out Walmart.
Right.
They're always going to be able to bring it in at a
Mm-hmm.
lower price than you, or which, really it's a price competition. They're always going to be able to beat your price.
Right.
There's no way that's not going to be the case. So you need to offer something else that they can't offer. And we see it a lot with Main Street businesses now that are doing really well, and they're doing well because they've differentiated themselves. Where you used to be able to be a generic, just kind of I like, we have locally around here, there's a couple of really high-end bike shops.
Mm-hmm.
For bicycles, people who like to ride. And in the past, you used to be able to sell, the $50 kids Huffy or, whatever out of those shops because you were the only game in town. Now you can get that from Dick's. You can get it from, I was going to say Sports Authority, but I guess you can't really get anything from them anymore. But, there are plenty of other options where you can go get that bike if that's what you're looking for.
Sure.
But for somebody who's serious about cycling and, really is going to spend some money, and they need the expertise that you're going to bring, or they want a product that Dick's is never going to offer because Dick's is not going to sell enough of those to carry them,
Right.
To carry that line, or the manufacturer of those bikes aren't going to sell them through big box retail because they know they want their customers to get a better experience than that. And you can do that. You can survive that way. And not even survive, you can thrive that way. You can run a good business that way, but it's about finding that differentiator.
Right.
And finding a way to be able to charge what you're worth, and then not apologizing for charging what you're worth.
Right. Yeah. No, you don't want to devalue yourself. We talk about that all the time. We don't, we offer quality printing, quality customer service here, and we can't devalue that. Clients ask us to be more competitive on pricing, and again, that's the explanation, is it's the level of service you're getting in the product. I had a client ask us about lowering a price on some flashcards that he orders on Amazon just yesterday.
That he sells on Amazon.
Yeah, he sells packs of flashcards on Amazon. And we printed them for him last time, and he said that Amazon raised some of their fees, and he's not making as much profit. Wanted to know if we could lower our fees,
right,
to pay, to make up the difference. And the short answer was no. We found a way for him to get a lower price point on it. That is printing a higher quantity. If you print more, the price always goes down. So that seemed to work for him. He doubled his order. And he's going to proceed with the job. But again, that it points to exactly what you're talking about. I mean, he's going to have to evaluate his business model and how he's selling and determine whether it's worth it to do on Amazon.
Yeah, and that's really somebody then that's trying to drag us into the price game of, well, if I'm going to sell my product on Amazon, it's got to be the lowest price, or the low, especially if it's the same as what somebody else is doing, or that's now he's competing in that market and then asking us to be complicit in competing in that market, and we have no desire to compete in that market. I'm not going to lower my price just because you feel like the only way to sell your product is by lowering your price. If that's the case, then your business model is flawed to begin with, and I'm not going to purposefully make mine flawed just to try to solve that problem.
Enable them.
Yeah.
Not enablers.
But there's, and there's a lot of there are a lot of benefits that I think the kind of old guard of Main Street businesses never had to deal with in the past, and that's why there was a lot of anger and resentment towards a lot of the big box retail. As that stuff has kind of come in there, the idea was, well, we're a local community business. People should support us because we're a local community business, and they just should shop here. I mean, I've seen there's a coffee shop around here that used to put a sign outside their shop that basically said, "Buy from us because we are local. Come here instead of going to Starbucks or wherever, because we're owned by somebody in the community."
Right.
And you can't try to guilt people into dealing with you simply because you're it just doesn't work that way. There's got to be,
not anymore. Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be something. You have to give people a reason to want to shop with you, and that might be, hey, look, we do a lot of things for our community, and we're a presence in that community. And because of that, people feel the desire to want to support us as well, but not to guilt me into it.
Yeah, they shame you.
Exactly.
Like
and
how could you?
It would drive me crazy. I'd walk past it and just go.
I used to succumb to that and feel guilty about it, but now I'm at a point where I go into a store and I try something on, and then I order it online when I find out what I want. So I've come full circle.
Yeah, that I don't know if we want to promote that, but there's an element to the local business, and we're seeing now a resurgence in the Gen Zers now that actually prefer to shop in store, and they'll do it, where there was this idea that Gen Y kind of, or really the millennials, were the start of this fully online, generation that was only going to continue with people that prefer online experiences and online shopping, and that's all they're going to do. They're not going to, their stores are dead and this and that, whatever. And now what you're seeing is Gen Z kind of coming around, and they actually prefer to shop in a store. There are a lot of studies that have been done that show that more of the younger people in that generation actually prefer to shop in a store. Sure. And then they use their technology to enhance their in-store experience.
Okay.
So they'll go in a store and they'll find something that they like, and they want to be able to hold it and have something tangible in their hand. But then they're going to go online and they're going to read reviews of that product while they're there holding it, and they're going to make sure that they're getting a good price. They don't want to overpay for what, similar to what you're saying,
yes.
And so there's an element of both there, but the idea that the brick and mortar experience, that the local business is dead and gone, is certainly has never come to fruition in its entirety. I mean, it's changed. It certainly is different than it used to be. But there are a lot of ways that you can still thrive and succeed, even given some of the competition that's out there.
Yeah, I can't remember the company, but I mean, you're talking about changing the shopper experience. I mean, that's a big way of bringing these younger people in too. And there was a company where you would go in and you would just put items in your cart, and you would be able to ring them out, and you wouldn't have to check out. You would just take the items
Amazon.
and leave the store. And was it an Amazon store?
Yeah, that's their
changing their shopper experience. It's nothing that any store could do. They could there's an app they could build where they could scan the products in the store and pay for it right there on their phone, and then walk out of the store with the product and not have to deal with the line.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's, I think, kind of going back to what I was talking about before. I think there are too many businesses that have been around for a while, generally speaking, small businesses, because bigger businesses, the machine is big enough where you get to a point where something that you're doing doesn't really work anymore, and the resources are there to then just acquire somebody that did something that is working. And that kind of self-perpetuates once you get to a certain size. It tends to be the smaller businesses that define themselves so much by what they do, that they miss the definition of why they're doing it, and get so caught up in the what and the how that they forget that the what and the how should change. It's supposed to change. You should be looking for ways to put yourself out of business, right? Because if you're not, somebody else is going to, and then that's it. I mean, it's over at that point if somebody else does it for you. So, I'm I'm constantly looking for ways to make us obsolete, because at least if I'm the one that figures it out, then we can do something about it, and we can, we can progress, and we can continue to exist. Where if somebody else figures it out and they're the ones that make us obsolete, well, it's game over at that point.
Right. Yeah. No, I get it. I think about something you mentioned to me not that long ago about how you feel photography services at some point may become obsolete, and as a photographer, it's disheartening.
Yeah.
So I've thought about it since you've talked to me about it, and tried to find reasons why that wouldn't occur, or ways to make that, not happen.
Yeah, I mean, and we've already seen some of that. We talked about it in a previous episode, right? The differences between hiring a professional. I mean, we had an episode specifically about that, right?
Right.
Why you would hire a professional photographer instead of an amateur.
Right.
And there are still a lot of reasons for that. And as long as those reasons remain relevant, and as long as you can focus on those items rather than, I have equipment that takes a nice picture, because everybody has equipment that takes a nice picture right now.
Sure.
I mean, when a cell phone costs $1,000, primarily because of the camera that it has on it, and not only the camera but the software behind it too, just about everybody has something in their possession that takes a really nice picture. So at that point, it becomes about, well, what do you do that differentiates yourself from just the amazing cell phone camera that everybody has in their pocket? And there are things that a professional photographer can do, and a good photographer can and will do,
right,
that do differentiate that. Whether or not that will continue to be the case 10 years from now with software and hardware and where it gets to, and is kind of remains to be seen. But for now, there are still ways to be relevant in that space.